The government should do their job, which is to bear the sword, to punish evil and protect righteousness and maintain peace among the civilians. That's what we've seen in the first 7 verses of Romans 13. They are not supposed to do more than their job, and they're not supposed to do less than their job, which means the worker being due their wages, they should not be paid to do more than their job, nor should they be paid to do less than their job. They should be paid to do their job, and they should be paid a livable wage to do their job. Their job is not education, it's not medicine, it's not redistribution of wealth, or a long list of other endeavors that increasingly, in our immediate context, they think their job is. That is not to say they cannot speak on these subjects or not even get involved in these dealings at all, because where there's evildoers, they do need to get involved. Where there's criminals, they do need to get involved, but they need to operate in accordance with what God has made them a deacon to do. Their job is to protect the righteous who do these things, whether it be medicine or work or things like that, and to punish evildoers who do these things wrongly. They do them criminally. They do them to the detriment of the people around them. To state a simple example, the government, I think, has the right to shut down a church or a school in the presence of a legitimate threat like an active shooter. Insofar as there are active shooters or tsunamis being on a coastal city or even deadly viruses, I think they have a say in these matters insofar as they must maintain peace among the people, protect righteousness, and punish evil. When the government said, therefore, and if you haven't been with us, you might be thinking, he's just going on a rant, and I'm not. This is building off 2 weeks, and we're transitioning, and you'll see. Paul said, owe no one anything, and I'm trying to help us see what each sphere is owed. What each sphere is owed, particularly the government, so that we can rightly apply Romans 13, verses 1 through 10. We already tackled 1 through 7, and now 8 through 10 to our lives. And so, in our immediate context, this is something we have to figure out. The state of California, in case people were not tracking, I'm not trying to be funny or anything, lost 5 Supreme Court cases against churches during the thick of COVID-19 over a year ago in this state. Because of the balance of powers that we have as Americans, which we have to understand. Your homework last week, it's not normal homework to read extra biblical things, but your homework last week was to read the Constitution, because if you want to obey Romans 13, you have to know what your chief authority is. You have to know what your chief authority is. And because of the balance of powers that we have in this country, which are great, the state backed off their tiered system, back when we had a tiered system, for churches. You could go on their website in the thick of the tiered system in California, and you would see that for churches, they backed off almost every restriction because they lost 5 times in a row with the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not trying to go on a rant here. I'm trying to help us understand that there were Christians who realized, well, I don't think Romans 13 means that we just obey the governor. I think it also means we obey the Constitution, and I see a constitutional inconsistency, so I'm going to appeal to the judges, and the judges ruled that the governor was in fact wrong, making it the obedience in our state, the rule of the law became that the governor was actually wrong in the Constitution, and the judge's affirmation of the Constitution was now the authority, the civil authority that we were supposed to obey. Now, this did not mean that churches, by that alone, had to start meeting immediately, but it did mean that in our governing system, in the civil sphere of authority, we had the right to meet legally, because the judges ruled, in accordance with the Constitution, that the governor of our state was wrong, that he was not adhering to the Constitution, which is his governing document. This is important for us to realize. We have to think through these things as citizens. We spend a lot of time in this church dealing with the sphere of the family and what that looks like, and we spend a lot of time dealing with the sphere of the church. We haven't talked about government for the couple years that we've been in Romans because it hasn't been in the text. But we're in the thick of it now. And so we have to understand these things. We have to evaluate these things. We can't just look at the Bible and make these blanket statements that says, well, I think I'll just obey the governor because that seems like the simplest thing. No, we have a more complex system, and it's actually in our favor that we have a more complex system because it's a balance of powers. And so if we want to obey Romans 13, we have to think through these things.